for publicly stating that the internal mechanism has failed and highlighting the fact that there is a continuous violation of Tamil people's rights in the Tamil homeland. The next speaker will be Mrs. Marielle Learand. She is the Vice President of the Red Party in Norway and also the former leader of the women's organization in Oslo. She will focus on the necessity to build continuous pressure on the international community. Over to you, Marielle.
Thank you. Dear all, dear Tamils and all friends of the Tamil struggle for justice and freedom. My name is Marielle Learand, and I'm vice leader of Red Party of Norway. I'm glad to be here on this important gathering to get information out in the world about what has happened in Sri Lanka and to challenge the international community, national governments, and the government in Colombo to accept the legitimate demands of the Tamil people. Our party supports the Tamil people in your struggle for justice and freedom. In the 20th century, there was a wave of liberations and new independent national states. This was also the case for Norway, and we got our independence in 1905. Unfortunately, not every people succeeded in establishing their own state or independence. The Tamils still today haven't got their freedom and have to live as second-rate citizens in Sri Lanka or in refugee in other countries around the world. Freedom is important for all people and is what makes us human. No one can live without the freedom to govern their own land and move and speak as they want. The Tamils don't ask for much. They just want the same as every other people in the world. They want freedom. The government in Colombo have made this wish further from being realized than ever before. The government have crushed the Tamils' wishes of freedom with great violence. The war against the Tamil Tigers ended with a massacre of innocent Tamils that the world still haven't fully opened their eyes for. In the last months of the war, the Sri Lankan army said they didn't want to hurt civilians and created no-fire zones where civilians should be safe. In reality, these zones were the opposite of no-fire zones, and the military exploited the high density of people to maximize the casualties. The military hit civilians with purpose. As a part of their terror, they launched second bombardments on the same places with a few minutes' delay. This way, they also killed those who tried to help the wounded from the first bombardment. Hospitals were deliberately targeted, even though they were clearly marked. The Sri Lankan army also made other crimes of war, including systematical rapes and execution of war prisoners. In total, more than 40,000 people were killed in the last phase of the war. It was difficult for the world to get information about the massacre because all foreigners had to leave because of the dangerous situation and the Sri Lankan government did not allow any information to get out to the world. Because of the voices of witnesses and movies from cell phones, the terrible truth is starting to come out to the world. In order to get lasting peace in Sri Lanka, it's important to have an independent investigation of the massacre in the last phase of the war. The UN must take action to start this investigation and create a special court that can judge the persons responsible for war crimes. All the missing and dead persons must be accounted for, and the responsible punished. This has been important to get peace in former Yugoslavia and in Rwanda, where there have been similar conflicts. So far, the government of Sri Lanka have refused to find the truth of what has happened. It's clear that there will never be an honest investigation without strong pressure from the UN and the international community. We demand an international independent investigation of the crimes committed against Tamils in Sri Lanka. This demand must be supported from Norway and other nations. Even if the war is formally over, the Sri Lankan army is still occupying the Tamil areas of Sri Lanka. 60% of the Sri Lankan army is located in the northern areas, and a lot of areas of buildings are still not giving back to their owners. The Tamil people live as second-rate citizens without democratic rights. People are being arrested without trials, and there's a constant suppression of Tamil culture. Their land are being grabbed, and Singhalese are moved to earlier Tamil villages. The Sri Lankan government must end all suppression of the Tamils and pull back the army. If the government truthfully wants peace, they must stop the militarization in Sri Lanka and start behaving as one should in peacetime. It's no long-term solution to guard every Tamils as prisoners. The people must be given the confidence to rule their own land. Political prisoners must immediately be released. A lasting peace in Sri Lanka is in the interest of both the Tamils and the Singhalese majority. But there can be no peace without freedom and justice. Everyone who has lost their loved ones in the war has the right to find out what has happened to them, and they have the right to see the people responsible for war crime punished. The international community must recognize the Tamil people as a distinct nation living in their traditional homeland with right to self-determination. This also includes the right of the Tamils to create their own parties and organizations. The Tamil Tigers was founded on the basis of Tamils struggling for their legitimate rights. We are glad Norway abandoned the banning of the organization. So must the whole international community, also the government in Colombo. The Red Party of Norway will support your struggle for justice, and we will do all in our power to push the UN and the Norwegian government to take the necessary steps to have the Sri Lankan government abide international conventions and stop the suppression and denying the legitimate rights of the Tamil people and nation. Thank you very much. And today, on this conference, we will work together for further successes in your struggle. Thank you.